Okay guys, the results are in when it comes down to the video that we had the other day about a new Nintendo presentation this week, and it is confirmed, it is happening, it is going down. The Nintendo Indie World Showcase is set for August 7th. That is this Thursday. We're going to break down that and how Switch Force was right. I covered it in a previous video right here. Also link in the description. And I also said this is probably going to be an Indie World Showcase overall since we just had a partner direct. He stated that it wasn't a big Nintendo Direct with all the big games. So really the only thing left was an Indie World Showcase, and that is correct. But apparently, according to Zach from Switch Force, there's something very interesting in that show that he's excited about. So while not everyone loves indie partner showcases and all of that, maybe there's something really good in there. And I would say this, the Nintendo Switch 2 definitely needs some more native indie games. Really, all we have are just Nintendo Switch 1 titles that can be played on Nintendo Switch 2. So we actually need some native indie games on the Nintendo Switch 2. So I'm hoping that developers have got their dev kits updated, have been working on some titles, and Nintendo was just kind of waited to say, okay, we're going to get you guys in this show. But this is actually a smaller part of a bigger thing that we're going to talk about that is huge for the Nintendo Switch 2. Plus, we've got a bunch of video game updates on the Nintendo Switch 2 as well as always. So let's go ahead and jump right into this here. We're starting off with the Nintendo Indie World Showcase that's set for August 7th. We got 15 minutes of announcements and updates for independent titles. So Nintendo will host this Indie World Showcase August 7th at 6 a.m. PT, 9 a.m. ET, featuring roughly 15 minutes of announcements and updates on independent games coming to the Nintendo Switch 2 and the Nintendo Switch 1. The company announced you'll be able to watch it on YouTube in the Americas, Europe, Japan, and Twitch. I will be live streaming the event, so if you want to come through, hang out with us beforehand, I'll be live streaming at least about an hour or an hour and a half before the show. So we like to get in there, talk about the show, make jokes, have a lot of fun beforehand. So make sure you guys come hang out and chill. Yes, it's going to be really early, especially if you're West Coast. It's going to be like, I'll be up like at 4 a.m. or something like that, getting ready and getting the show started. But it's always a good time. Regardless of what happens in the show, we always have a good time beforehand just hanging out. So if you want to stop by and chill, you definitely are welcome and invited. But yeah, this show, it's going to be interesting to see how Nintendo plays a part with this one because we don't really know what's going on here. There was a lot of discussion beforehand that indie developers didn't get their kits at the same time as some of the other bigger developers. So I'm guessing that they have had their kits for a while now, and a lot of their games are now ready to be shown off and to go for this year and probably into next year as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to be at the show and what Zach from Switch Force, the game that he's excited about, because I don't think he'd hype up a game that wasn't very good. He didn't love the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. So apparently there's something good in here and he knows about it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have called this show being announced this week, which he was the only creator from what I know that had information on this show. Nate the Hate said that he wasn't aware of any type of show, so you've got to give credit for Zach for having that information in terms of there being a show this week because nobody else was calling that. So shout outs to him on that. But what's going to be at the show, we'll have to wait and see on it. But I think that this leads to even a bigger thing that was said by Zach in the video, is that this is part of a three-pronged attack. It started out with the Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. Now this week, it is the Nintendo Indie World Showcase. And that is kind of clearing out stuff for the eventual big Nintendo Direct that's probably going to be going down next month in September. That is what I'm guessing at this point. I think that Nintendo has done that before where they have a big second half of the year. They get the indie showcase out. They get the Nintendo Direct Mini or partner showcases back to back. They clear out what else they have. They got 2 games coming out this month with Drag and Drive and Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which we're going to talk about that. The Star-Crossed World expansion, there's a big update on that game. So I think that Nintendo is clearing that out and getting it ready for the big fall games when it comes to stuff like Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Borderlands 4, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, potentially Splatoon Raiders, and other titles that they do have, like Kirby Air Riders, for example. So I think that's what's happening, and it's going to be very fun to see what Nintendo does for the second half of this year. But what are your thoughts on this, guys? Let me know in the comment section below. But before we move into the next topic, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you are someone new, and click that notification bell to get my vids as soon as they drop. And let me know in the comment section, are there any independent games or indie titles that you're looking forward to playing natively when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2? Alright guys, let's jump into this next topic because this is a game that I'm actually really excited for. I know it's a Nintendo Switch 2 edition and all of that, and it's been out, but Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition plus Star-Crossed World. We got a brand new overview trailer that details and breaks down exactly what you're going to be getting in this version of the game, and to me, it fixes the main problem that most people, I myself included, had with this game. And that is the frame rate. For some, the resolution, but the frame rate in this game for a 3D action platformer type of title, 30 FPS just is not great for it. And now it is fixed. It is at 60 FPS at this point. We've got higher resolution as well. We've got new updates to the game, and we've got new footage to show off as well because there is an overview trailer here. So let's go ahead and break down what this game is about. So a new story, Star-Crossed World. A massive meteor has crashed into the Forgotten Land, and impending evil is about to be unleashed. To seal it away, Kirby must venture forth and gather starries, fragments of stars scattered across the land while exploring new locations and facing a variety of new challenges. Complete natural plains, the first area of the original story, to access the Star-Crossed World story content and its starry stages. That's very good that you don't have to necessarily beat everything. So if you just want to get into that new content, you can get into it. Brand new starry stages. The meteor's impact has changed the aspects of the Forgotten Land, and once familiar locations have been transformed. Discover new paths and explore areas that were previously inaccessible, like the tops of the buildings and even the ocean floor. Rescue the starries in each stage to progress to the next one, but watch out. The meteor's effects have made the Beast Pack more powerful, and some newly added foes will try to slow you down too. So that's the one thing, or another thing more like it, that some people felt was not great with Kirby and the Forgotten Land from the beginning, at least with the base package before you get into the post game. The game was way too easy. Well, it looks like they're trying to make sure that this is not way too easy from the very beginning, because they're pretty much anticipating that most of us have played the game, that most of us have beat the game or have played through enough of it. So I think they're going to go from the beginning saying, hey, we're going to ramp this thing up. So that's definitely good. We've got 3 new mouthful modes. Reach lofty platforms with high jump and lay the smash down on enemies and objects with spring mouth. Latch onto walls and get rolling vertically with gear mouth, and slide along slopes, jump to reach things in the air, and spin to attack foes with the sign mouth. A lot of cool mouthful modes, which is one of the best things about the game when it comes to some of the upgrades and what you can do in there. There's brand new activities as well. Collect starry coins in each stage and spend them to acquire new figures from Astronomer Waddle Dee. You can also head to the Coliseum and test your mettle in an extra tough boss rush, the Ultimate Cup ZX. So very cool new boss rush mode in there. And then of course, the Nintendo Switch 2 enhancements, which we talked about. You have the 60 FPS, which is accessible throughout the whole game. It's not just the Starry Worlds or Star-Crossed Worlds section. It is now going to be 60 FPS for the whole game, and of course enhanced resolution as well because of the Nintendo Switch 2 version. And remember, you don't have to just get this game when it comes to the physical edition on the Nintendo Switch 2. You can also upgrade it from the eShop if you have the original Nintendo Switch 1 version. So if you want to just already use that, you can, or if you want to buy that for discounted and then upgrade it for the $20, you can also do that. So very excited about Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition Star-Crossed World. This content looks great. I'm looking forward to playing it myself, and once again, it fixes some of the things that I had a big issue with when it comes to the frame rate with the game being 30 on the Switch 1. Now it's going to be 60, and of course the difficulty being bumped up overall for the base DLC that they're going to have here. So very good overall. So what do you guys think about Kirby and the Forgotten Land and this new edition that is coming for the Nintendo Switch 2? Plan on picking it up? let me know in the comment section below. The game is due out on August 28th, so at the end of this month. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next topic here, guys. We're going to be discussing Clair Obscur Expedition 33 and what the creative director had to say recently about how there is still some prejudice against turn-based RPGs, despite them selling better overall. So here's what he had to say. I could talk about the prejudice forever, laughs. Personally speaking, I think Japanese turn-based RPGs were super popular up until the Xbox 360 era, but around the time open world games started getting more popular through gaming media, JRPGs started being considered uncool, more laughs. He also went on to mention that the Persona series is one of the more successful examples of the genre, but suggests that JRPGs still have a long way to go in order to return to their original popularity. While they still sell large number of copies, with the Persona series as a prime example, I feel that the prejudice against turn-based RPGs isn't completely gone. So this is a very loaded topic, which we've discussed before when it comes down to it, how the Final Fantasy producer didn't want the term JRPG, and there's so many different things that can be said about this. So here's what I will say. JRPGs, in terms of traditional ones, there's definitely some people that have something against them. And we see that in the media all the time. We see that with JRPGs and the Game Awards when it comes to here in the West. Now, in Japan, not necessarily. Like, JRPGs are great. They get awards, they win stuff, all that. But here in the West, JRPGs definitely have a tougher time in terms of getting awards, getting sales sometimes. Now, when it comes to Nintendo stuff, it's a little bit different because their JRPGs with Fire Emblem, in addition to Pokemon, those do really well. Those do incredibly well, especially Pokemon. Pokemon sells like crazy, and Fire Emblem has done really well for itself considering it's a strategy tactical JRPG. So it's a very different style, but Fire Emblem Three Houses, for example, is one of the best-selling strategy RPGs, if not the best-selling strategy RPG for a console game of all time. So I understand that. What he said about Persona is true. What he said about Japanese RPGs up until the Xbox 360 era is also true, because before then, you had a lot of JRPGs that sold really well, then that kind of fizzled out a bit in that era when it comes to the bigger or third-party ones out there. So I do think that that is the case, what he's saying, and I'm pretty sure he lived through that just like we all did. There was definitely some anti-JRPG type of sentiment when it comes to the 360 era, as we saw when it comes to what Phil Fish had to say at that one convention and everything. So it makes sense what he's saying here, but I'm happy that Expedition 33 was able to come out and show some people that maybe were hating on him or saying that JRPGs or turn-based combat was lame, that wait a minute, if you give it a chance, it actually can be pretty good. And I think that Expedition 33 is going to lead to more people maybe giving other JRPGs or turn-based games a chance now that they played this game. So hopefully it gets better and better from here. But on the Nintendo side of things, when it comes to their first party, things are business as usual, but I think that it will open things up a little bit more, maybe for people who predominantly play on Xbox, PlayStation, or PC overall. So what do you guys think about what the Clair Obscur Expedition 33 producer had to say here about JRPGs? Let me know in the comment section below. But now we're going to move on to The Adventures of Elliot, the Millennium Tales. This is, to me, one of the best HD 2D games that Square Enix has ever made, even based off of an incomplete game and the demo that we've gotten so far. But Team Asano, Mr. Asano himself, has confirmed that Elliot is the only protagonist in The Adventures of Elliot. Quote, "A lot of care was taken in getting Elliot right, as this is the first time that we've made a game with just a single protagonist. For example, Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 had 8, Bravely Default 2 had 4, and Triangle Strategy had a sprawling ensemble cast." So yeah, it's definitely a very different thing, but to be honest, man, I am excited for this one because in their games, they've had a lot of characters before. A lot of characters with Triangle Strategy, a lot of characters with Octopath, and it also got kind of annoying managing all those characters and making sure that you had the right team. Now, don't get me wrong, that's part of the depth, and that's part of what makes the games good, but after so many years, since 2018, and playing all these different games from Octopath 1 to 2 to Bravely Default to Triangle Strategy, which Triangle Strategy is probably my favorite HD 2D game up until this point, I think that having a singular protagonist with the fairy and playing through the game like The Legend of Zelda, that's what this game reminds me of. I played a lot more of it recently on stream at the end of one of my live stream discussions, and we had a blast going through, getting stuck in a dungeon and going in circles and not realizing that I had a key and all of that. So this is a different type of HD 2D game. I like the change of pace. I like the fact that they're doing something a bit different. There's an emphasis and focus on the exploration and finding secret areas with bombs and getting different upgrades for your bombs and your pouches and like your quiver for your bows and arrows and different types of weapons. And you just really focus on that with your fairy friend helping you along the way as you being a sole adventurer. This is a good thing. This is kind of, I would say, a breath of fresh air for the HD 2D section of Square Enix's games. So I'm excited. This could be the best HD 2D game overall. When it's all said and done, it's that good to me because of what they're doing. They're really copying the Zelda 2D formula, the Link Between Worlds or the Legend of Zelda Link to the Past. I love that, but they're adding in more RPG elements that those games don't have. So very good, very excited about the Adventures of Elliot, and I'm looking forward to doing the survey and of course getting the game in 2026 when it's coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2, also Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. So Square Enix, I think, has something very, very special here, and let's see how it does overall in the final game. So what do you guys think about everything that we discussed here? A lot of game updates, a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 stuff. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.